Hello all and welcome. My name is Margaret. I'm a historical costumer and textile conservator in training. If you recognize this shirt, it's because I was wearing it in the last video because I filmed these back to back. But today's video is going to be one that I actually filmed back last winter and spring. So like February, March 2022. And it's about making this 1800s Regency style linen dress. This was a super fun project and I'm very excited to wear this to an upcoming event. And I did want to post this video for you all, but it has been a little bit, so you will be seeing my old apartment in Delaware. So please enjoy. I first cut out the bodice pattern from a white linen. This will act as the lining. It consists of 3 pieces, 2 front pieces and a back. This is going to be an apron front gown style, so it will close in the front with pins and then ties around the waist. Hello everybody, I just wanted to quick interrupt the video to talk about this book. This is a Regency Women's Dress Techniques and Patterns 1800 to 1830. This is what I used for the pattern of this outfit. So I am a big fan of extant pattern books and I have thought a lot about them. I did a whole project about them. You'll probably see a video about them in the coming months. But this is the pattern I used for this outfit. It's the morning dress from 1800. As you can see, it does have that higher neckline. I'll talk about that in a little bit later. But I found this book to be difficult to use, more difficult than other extant patterning books that I've used, such as Janet Arnold or Nora Waugh or I've used the Colonial Williamsburg book. That one was pretty good. But the reason I found this hard to use is because this is the only depiction of the final product that you have. This is a close-up of the actual dress, which is nice to see the fabric that it was made out of, but isn't really all that helpful. And then this is just an illustration of a somewhat similar gown, but isn't necessarily what we're looking at. So I found this difficult to work with, partially because I didn't really understand how things went together. I mean, I've been sewing long enough that I could make educated guesses, but in terms of the historical accuracy and how things would have been put together historically, there's really no information here. You just sort of kind of get the pattern pieces and they're like, whoop. I had a really interesting time trying to figure out the connection of where the bib and the skirt fit in relation to these pattern pieces, the bodice. Maybe that's because I'm dumb, I don't know. I also didn't really follow the skirt pattern, so you'll see I had a hard time with that, but that was just me being an idiot. So all in all, I think if you are going to work from this book, you should have some experience and knowledge of the period, the Regency period that you're working in, and also some general sewing knowledge. This is not for your beginner crowd, and also not necessarily super academically helpful either. So just a quick note on this book. It's not that I dislike this book. I think this book offers a lot of information in terms of Regency patterning that a lot of other books don't, but I would use it in tandem with like a Janet Arnold or something that has a little bit more information. So yeah, just a quick note on that. I sewed the linen lining back to the front with back stitches and then hemmed the lining front lappets that close with pins in the front before the apron is put on. Just a double fold hem with the running stitches, nothing fancy. I used the lining to make sure that the bodice would fit. Quick fitting is always important at this stage. Next, it was time to cut out the fashion fabric. I found 5 yards of this lovely embroidered linen on Facebook Marketplace. I'm pretty sure it was a curtain at one point in time, and it was just enough fabric for this dress. 5 yards is like the smallest amount of fabric I can use for a historical costume, and it's going to be a Regency dress. So I took care to balance the embroidered flowers and tried to make everything as symmetrical as possible. I then pinned everything to the lining and pressed it to make sure that it would match up. Then I used running stitches to secure the fashion fabric to the bodice lining, and I sewed the lining to the bib portion of the dress, the part that goes over the boubage.
I did not use the skirt pattern from the book. I just winged it to various degrees of success. I knew I wanted a train and I knew I had enough for a flat front, but then I had to figure out what I could do for gores at the sides and how much fabric I had left for that. I only had 2 lengths of the fabric for the skirt. I ended up using 1 full length for the back and half a length for the front, with the other to be made into those gores. However, I cut the second half diagonally, thinking that they would be perfect for the gores, and then realized, oops, one of them is going to have the embroidery upside down, so instead I cut 2 isosceles triangles and just had smaller gores, which was fine in the end. I pinned the pieces of the skirt together and then sewed them up with mantua maker seams. The seams were a bit bulky in the linen, and I had to rip out some of the embroidery along the seams to make it work, but it will keep the fabric from fraying, and I feel in the end product that didn't really bother me. Then I did a narrow double fold hem on the pocket slits and attached the skirt front to the bib and encased the seam with the lining. So the entire skirt is sort of put together at this point.
I think she looks pretty good. She fits well. Obviously, the back situation, it's flaring out, but I'm gonna put the skirt up a little higher. Should be entirely fine. Obviously, I have to gather that up. The gores not being all the way up, I think it's fine. Gives me a little extra room, but I still get that nice, beautiful sort of flat fall in the front. So all in all, I'm feeling good about this. I'm wearing my short stays right now, not my long stays, because my long stays are very hard to get into by myself. So wonderful. I'm very excited to finish this bad boy off.
Next, I gathered the back with long running stitches and sewed the back onto the skirt. And it was at this point I remembered that it is better to cut the hem when it's flat, especially when you sort of have these sloping panels. So I made sure to do that, so I had a lovely curve for the train. And then I did a shallow double fold hem all the way around the hemline because I didn't have a ton of fabric. Then I decided to work on the sleeves. I stacked my lining and fashion fabric and sewed 1 seam, turned them right side out, and they were lined with enclosed seams. The American Duchess Guide to 18th Century Sewing has a tutorial on this if that didn't make any sense. I gathered the sleeves and basted them to the bodice. Then I finished the cuffs of the sleeves. I cut these a bit long and they ended up staying long, which I thought was fine. I checked the fit once again and I back stitched the sleeves in. I also added ties and loops to hold the back ties in place. This was an 11th hour decision and was not filmed. I do like the final product. I'm not like super enthused about how the bust really fits. I think this is a little high. I think I would have liked it more like here, but it is supposed to be a day dress, so a little bit higher is fine. I think I need to make a new shift for it as well. This one's a little bulky, but otherwise I am happy with the final result. I love the way the fabric sort of has this design, like straight front all the way down. I think that adds a really nice touch, but I'm excited to wear this dress out, maybe to a picnic in the summer. Hello! So this is months after I completed this dress. I completed this dress in like, what, February, March? But I am here in, I'm here in Washington, D.C. and I'm going to a costuming meetup at the National Gallery. I had a conference and I was down here, so I thought I would swing by. So I am wearing the dress today, which is very exciting. I feel kind of 17th century with this hair, but I've got a really cute little beret number that I've made. I'm thinking maybe maybe I will do a tutorial video on how to make that if you're interested. So yeah, I'm gonna get dressed and head out to the National Gallery. So for this gown, I didn't end up making myself a new shift. I'm using my 18th century shift, which is kind of bulky in the sleeve area. Definitely want something a little bit less so since the sleeves are pretty tight on this dress. But started with my shift and my Regency short stays, stockings, and jewelry. And then I put on this petticoat, which is self-drafted. Again, could use some revision, but totally works fine. And then the dress on over that as well. Just pinned in place with a few straight pins and tied at the back. And then I put on my Hessian boots from American Duchess. And then my cute little beret that I made. Again, if you want to see a tutorial for this, I am happy to film one. Just pop that down in the comments because I have just enough material left over to film a tutorial on it. I put my cloak on that I made in a previous video, which I will link down below. Popped all of my things into my new matching reticule. And I was off. So this is the finished dress. I did wear this to a costuming meetup at the National Gallery of Art. It was very nice to meet everyone, and I did really enjoy wearing the dress. It was very comfortable. I will say the front portion sort of swags a little bit, so I think I need to take the bib part down a little bit so the skirt isn't as long. Hopefully you enjoyed watching me make this costume, and I hope to bring more sewing videos to you soon. You can, of course, subscribe here on the Costume and Conservation YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Costume and Conservation. And other than that, you can have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!